The best of the week on Relevant Radio.
I want to talk about infertility for just a quick second here. Dr. John Littell is going to be stopping by. I always appreciate him. He's an excellent physician. And I saw on the calendar a story about Our Lady of La Leche, and we could talk about her and her intercession. A lot of people claim they got pregnant after that. But it made me think about infertility. It's becoming a major concern in today's world. It affects millions of couples globally. Maybe you or somebody you love struggles with it. You know, current data shows, I think, about 1 in 6 people experience infertility at some point in their lives. I mean, that's pretty significant. It's what, 15, 20% of couples worldwide struggle to conceive every year. In the States alone, the numbers are a little bit higher, maybe a little bit lower. I think the number I saw was 12 to 13%, but it's right around there. You get the big picture, right? So infertility, for a long time, has been seen just as a woman's health problem. Research now highlights that about 40 to 50% of infertility cases, guess what? They're related to the male. There are a lot of male factors in there. So that shift in understanding, I think it calls for a more comprehensive approach to how we tackle infertility. So what are some of the factors that impact this? I think a lot of people are getting married later, right? They're just not having kids. Delayed childbearing probably plays a factor in that lifestyle. The diet that we consume is terrible, right? Lack of exercise, excessive alcohol consumption, just smoking. All those things can really impact. It can reduce fertility. And then, another issue I would love to dive in, environmental toxins, right? The exposure to chemicals found in everything from pesticides and plastics to pollutants, right? To maybe even the lotions and things that you're putting on your body. PCOS, right? Low testosterone. There's a lot of things going on. So one other thing here, too, before I get to Dr. Littell, I just saw that on the other side of fertility, just one other issue here, too. This is maybe even another conversation. We're seeing a lot of miscarriages. Brooke Taylor, she shared with me the other day that she went to the Shrine of Our Lady of Good Help, and she actually had a real miracle there, she says. But she had multiple miscarriages. My former producer, Cassie Everts, she wrote a book about this. She had 4 or 5 miscarriages. About 10% of known pregnancies, they end in miscarriage in the first trimester, and between 1 and 5% end in the second. And the science basically presumes that miscarriages happen because of some sort of genetic anomaly, with the baby. But then there are women who have more than one miscarriage. So, I don't have the answers to this, but I thought, what a great day to talk about it. And I invited Dr. John Littell to join us. He is a family practice physician, but he wrote a book. And grab a pen and paper. We'll put this in our show notes. Nick, if you could do this, it'd be great. John Littell's website is johnlittellmd.com. And the book is The Hidden Truth: Deception in Women's Healthcare. Again, John Littell, Littell, MD.com. What are you seeing in your office? Maybe we could start there in terms of women are coming in either for infertility or for miscarriage. What advice do you give? How do you help them?
Yeah, what I see is, first of all, as I say, the OBGYN profession has become the infertility industry. So the number one thing I do in my office, and thank God I had extra training in NaProTechnology and through Pope Paul VI and Dr. Hilger's work, 25, 30 years ago now. But this is each and every day in my office. Young women and couples come in who have been impaired by having been on any of the variety of artificial contraceptive measures, techniques, shots, pills, patches, implants. I'm trying to get these women, sometimes, as you said, they're postponing pregnancy at a record level around in the society, and there's a million reasons for that. Some are very good reasons, and anyway, we're trying to get them back to normal reproductive cycles. That's a lot of work.
Wow.
I'm discovering that a lot of women have covered up conditions, one of the most common ones being endometriosis. They've literally covered it up because they've been on artificial contraception for so long, they don't even realize that they've been suffering from a condition which progresses and ultimately needs surgical intervention to allow them to. I had a woman just the other day who finally got to a doctor who could do, and she had to go to another city. You can't get this in your own city. You have to get experts on endometriosis who actually took a look and was able to do all kinds of things to open up her fallopian tube, to basically unburden her reproductive tract from this disease known as endometriosis. That's still out there. Just
want to follow up on that and PCOS. I mean, what's causing the increase in this? Because I know a lot of women personally who have asked for prayers for that condition, and maybe it's just anecdotal. But again, I almost feel like these young 20 and 30-year-old women are struggling with that in greater numbers than anything I could ever remember when I was a young man.
Well, PCOS is a little easier to peg in terms of etiology. I mean, the potential causes of polycystic ovaries, that tends to be very much tied into something known as the metabolic syndrome, which is partly genetic and partly environmental in the sense of how, as you said earlier, our diets are so rich in inflammatory and really fertility destroying chemicals. I have to tell you, Drew, I'm older than you, and I am learning each and every day from my kids that the stuff I've been eating is toxic. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out, looking for the right kind of ice cream to eat. I read about Dairy Queen just the other day. I mean, I can go on and on. That the problem is we have crappy diets in this country compared to almost any country in the world, probably compared to any country in this world. And so a lot of it is rich in carbohydrates and sweets, and these things feed the beast. They feed the metabolic syndrome beast. You have another wonderful doctor on your program. I've heard speak about this too. And so I won't get into that whole deal about the diet, but I'll tell you this much. PCOS is very much tied to the your capacity to metabolize carbohydrates, specifically insulin activity. So there's that. Obesity, definitely an issue with that. So diet is everything with that. Endometriosis, I don't have a good feel for where it's coming from.
Right.
But certainly relatively easy to identify and treat if you're just not taking all this garbage that the OBGYNs throw at you and the family doctors to suppress your fertility at a young age. I mean, even at as young as 15. The real tragedy of what I'm seeing in my office, as I'm working with all these couples, and yes, men as well, they'll have lower sperm counts, record low levels of sperm counts in men in the developed countries, not in the developing or third world.
And decreasing. Right? So Our Lady of La Leche, and I kind of started the conversation with that. There may be people who are not familiar with it. It's a beautiful devotion. I know it stretches all the way back to the Spanish settlers in the 1600s. And it centers on this beautiful image of Our Lady nursing the infant Jesus, right? Reminding us, of course, of her nurturing love that she has, not just for the Christ child, but for you and for me. So a lot of people throughout the centuries have turned to her for help, especially when it comes to childbirth or fertility or the health of their children. And there's a ton of miracles that have been reported as a result of her. Is there anything you want to add regarding Our Lady of La Leche? How can people get more information? Would you recommend mothers struggling with their pregnancy or getting pregnant or dealing with miscarriage to turn to her under this title?
Oh, my gosh, yes. I mean, I've been very devoted to Our Lady ever since we moved to Florida, frankly, and we first discovered that she's right down the road. Other than St. Gianna, but she's Our Lady, and she knows better than anyone the gift of life within the womb. The Shrine of Our Lady of Leche is readily accessible. I encourage people to take a pilgrimage there, learn all you can. I mean, it's such a beautiful place to go and so peaceful, and they have all the materials you need about her. And yes, Our Lady will intercede. I always have to remind people that we doctors are not the ones. I had a lot of people giving doctors credit for them getting, pregnant and for preventing miscarriages. Right. Actually, our Lord sustains life through the intercession of his Blessed Mother.
All right, let's grab a quick call or two for you. Sue is in Wisconsin. Sue, good afternoon. You're in there with Dr. Littell. Welcome.
Hi, thank you, Drew. Hi, Dr. Littell. I have a question for you. My daughter-in-law has been struggling with infertility for quite some time now. They did have one little girl, Ruby, and she's 6 years old, but since then they have not been able to conceive. They've tried numerous amount of things. She has been in the health field, so she has every COVID shot, every booster shot, every shot you can imagine under the sun. So they've actually went to the extent, and I know that IVF shouldn't be, but that's what they've done for the last 2 years. And if at the end of the year, this year, it doesn't work, then they're done. So, and with the retrieval with IVF, none of the eggs have been viable, none of them. And I have just been praying and praying and praying, and I just don't know. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, is it due to this COVID shot?
Well, what state do you live in?
Wisconsin.
Oh, there are doctors.
By Holy Hill. Yeah, by Holy Hill. Kind of by Holy Hill.
Yeah, there are NaProTechnology, and I'm sure Relevant Radio would know, but Pope Paul VI would find doctors for you that can help her work through that natural approach to natural procreative technology. But otherwise, Ashman, the problem with these shots have been that they created a situation where there were microclots within the developing placenta. So again, progesterone, low-dose aspirin, anti-inflammatories. There's about 9 things that we will provide women, and that's assuming her husband's sperm count, as we just discussed, is normal. and there are ethical ways to test for the healthy sperm as well. So I'll obviously pray to Our Lady, pray to Saint Gianna, and find a physician who is prayerful, humble, and also aware of these techniques. And you can find them even if you have to travel to another state, which many of my patients do, like the ones with endometriosis. They'll travel to Atlanta, to St. Louis, which has amazing doctors there. You can find these resources. I just tell her not to give up and to stop with the in vitro stuff.
They're going to stop. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
And they're very quiet about it. So, yeah.
Well, Sue, thank you for calling.
Okay.
Good to hear from you. I
Yep,
appreciate
thank you so much.
Yeah, well, Doctor, I got to leave it right there. I hope people will check you out at Dr. John. It's JohnLittellMD.com is his website. Hey, like what you just heard? Then share it with your family and friends. And thanks for listening.